Welcome to another episode of Dad Mode, God, Grit, and Goals. I'm your host, Mike Tobias, and today we're going to be talking about being a dad and how to lead your family, and the difference maybe perhaps how a dad might lead versus how mom might lead. As I've been having conversations this week with a few folks, it kind of has dawned on me that there is this kind of natural tension between, what do I want to say? I want to say a tension between too much, allowing too much, or too much grace. Maybe that's a good way to say it. Too much grace or grace without the law, or too much law. And so these are two ditches that we can get into. There's a ditch on the side of anything goes, and there's a ditch on the side of my way or the highway. And so how do we navigate between these two worlds? And in Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life, there is a chapter that discusses you want to raise kids that you want to be around. And you may find yourself in a situation where you want to be around them, but they don't want to be around you, or you don't want to be around them because of how they're behaving. These are natural things. And so there's a time when your child is born that every cry, every discomfort needs to be attended to immediately, because they are 100% completely dependent upon you. And this is really vital because obviously infants are helpless. But as a child grows, then their cries are not necessarily things that we need to attend to. And that might seem harsh or out of sorts, but just think about your own life. Just because you're uncomfortable or you are struggling with something, is that what you want, right? I was actually working out this morning, and as I was doing push-ups with my grandson on my back, I was straining under the pressure. But that is what makes you stronger, straining under the pressure. You know the story of the chicken. If you help a baby chick out of its own shell, if it doesn't go through the struggle of breaking free of its own shell, you're actually weakening it, and it will die. And so it's important that we go through the struggles. And so the question is, when do we allow our kids to struggle, and when don't we? And are we the consequence, or are there consequences? And this has been a battle for me as a dad, and I'm seeing it more and more clearly as a grandfather. But when do you step in to help, or when do you step in to say no? That's not enough. I've spoken with people before about the challenges that they have with older kids who are really not following the rules of the house. They come and go when they want. They don't check in. They're just living in your house when they decide to live in your house. And your goal, I've had a few people talk to me about this, their goal is just to keep them alive. And I can understand that. I can understand the fear of, if I make the wrong move, my child may die. They may die because of where they're going, who they're with, what they're doing, or they may die because they decide life's too hard and they want to end it themselves. And these are just heartbreaking situations, and I understand that. I know what it's like to go to bed not knowing, where is my child? What is happening? And I feel for those folks. And so what kind of leads to that? Well, there's all kinds of circumstances, but what is our role as parents? So our role is to set up the rules of the game and then not change those rules so that there isn't any confusion. And so what do I mean by rules of the game? Well, whenever we play any game, you want to know what are the rules? What are the boundaries? How do I know when I'm out of bounds? How do I know when I'm in bounds? How do I know? Because we want a fair game. And life is a game. And as we are raising your kids, and you are raising your kids, we're teaching them the game of life. There's a great saying that we all know, and it says it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. And the reason that saying is actually valuable when you think it through is because it's not just this game. It's not just this board game we're playing tonight. It is a series of board games that I want to play with you in the future. And if you're the kind of person that's a poor loser or a poor winner, I'm not going to want to play with you again. And so our relationship is too important for me to not like you or for you to not like me. Our relationship is too important for that. And because I want you to like me and I want to like you, we need to play a fair game. And I need to teach you how to play a fair game. And if the rules are confusing, then that's going to create, well, obviously confusion. And so it's very important that we are explicit in our communications. In a board game, the rules are very explicit. This is how you play the game. But in life, it's not so explicit. I heard something this week which was really impactful. It said that today's unspoken expectations are future resentments. I'll say it again. Unspoken expectations. When I don't tell you what I'm actually expecting, are future resentments, which means when you don't do what I think you should do or are supposed to do, but I don't tell you that, I am going to begin to resent you for the things that you're not doing, yet you don't know that you're supposed to be doing them. This really hit home with me. It kind of struck a chord. And this is going to be a short episode today, but I really want you to think about that. Have I been explicit in my conversations of what is expected, the rules of the game? And if I haven't, then as I find myself resenting you for you not doing the things that you were supposed to do, then that's actually on me. So I think that's a really important thing to just think through. If you're finding yourself resenting someone about something, well, what role did I have to play about that? Because we just want to blame them. We want to talk behind their backs. We want to say, well, that's just the way they are. But it's like, no, I actually had a role to play in that. Did I actually articulate? Did I speak? What are the rules of the game? What was I expecting? Along those lines, the idea that we are to be the referee. We want to be friends with our kids, right? I think everybody wants to be friends and we want to make them happy. And of course we want happy kids. But think about what makes you happy. What makes you happy is not that you're given everything. A participation trophy doesn't make you happy. Actually, winning the championship gives you a great sense of accomplishment. There is no great sense of accomplishment because I participated, because everybody gets one. And while, yes, it's better than not participating, I get that. But to remove the competitive nature of things, I think is a great disservice to our kids. That there is winning, there is losing. And so it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game, but that doesn't mean there is no such thing as losing, that we are to remove losing or to remove winning. That's actually the greatest lesson is learning I didn't measure up today, but I can work out harder because tomorrow's a new day. This is what instills resilience. If you are getting a trophy for just participating, there's no resilience in that. And so we, as dads, we need to teach our kids resilience, but we need to be on their side, not against them. And so this is another big topic, which is don't be the consequence. When you set up the rules of the game, let the consequences be the consequence. In other words, they didn't win. And so it's not me that's making you the loser. I'm not punishing you for losing. I'm not rewarding you for winning. I'm excited for you for the effort that you put out. But I'm also curious about how you feel about that. How do you feel about the preparation that you made before the game? And I honestly want to know. I'm not asking it as a setup question, like I know you didn't. Do you know that? No, it's earnestly, what do you think? What do you think you might have done differently? I know it was disappointing. I heard this about, think about this in the creative domain. One of the things that happens is we begin teaching our kids to not look within for self-satisfaction for a job well done. We teach them to rely on others and their opinions. And if you want a strong child, and if you want a strong adult, it doesn't matter what other people think. It matters what I think, right? And so how do we create that, or how do we destroy it? And here's a really interesting way that we end up destroying that. Self-fulfillment, self-esteem, right? That's a big topic. Well, self-esteem doesn't come from us telling you how good you are. In fact, it does the opposite. So I'll give you a real quick example. My grandson had a drawing that he did. And of course you want to say, oh, that's fantastic, wonderful. And that's normally what I would have done. But I have learned that a better thing to say is, what do you think about it? How do you feel about it? Because it opens up the door to your opinion matters more than mine. Because you've created this yourself, not for me, but for you. And so how do you feel about it? And he would say, well, I like this part. I was like, yeah, I like that too. And he said, but I messed up on this one. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it looks like you tried again over here. Yeah. Oh, good for you. That's cool. Yeah. What do you think? Which one's better? See, I'm not going to tell him which one's better. Oh, I like this one better. I did a good job on that one. Awesome. Good for you. That's fantastic. So glad. And you can see that subtle shift, because otherwise we end up raising kids who need other people's opinion to be positive about them because they don't have that in themselves, right? And so when you think about things like bullying or wanting to fit in or all of those things, it is so hard for teenagers because their peer group is so important that they want to be liked by everybody. But if you don't like yourself, that's all you have. And so the way you like yourself is to be raised up in a way where you are taught how to like yourself, not through the praise of other people, but by the inner reflections of yourself and the acknowledgement that you are becoming better today than you were yesterday. It is who I am becoming. It is a movement, and that we are not static. You will not forever not be able to ride your bike. you will learn to ride your bike, and you will learn to ride your bike by screwing up riding your bike over and over again until you get it, right? And so it is the screw-ups that are the learning. Good for you. You got back up, right? Get back on the horse. So resilience, we want to create resilience, and it's an inner strength, and it comes from helping our kids think about their own thinking and what's important to them. And so building that trust and understanding, setting up the rules of the game, so that there are spoken expectations. Here are the rules. These are the preconditions. These are our boundaries, right? And I've said this before, but a boundary is something that requires no effort on their part and is 100% your responsibility. So just think about a game of football. Now, it is the player's responsibility to stay in bounds, but the boundary is the boundary. The boundary requires no effort on the part of the player. It requires simply a referee to throw the flag. Oh, you're out of bounds. Yep, there it was, clearly. And so the boundary simply is what it is. It's just there. And I'm not going to move it, because once I start moving it, I'll give you an example of moving it. All right, it's time to go to bed. No, I don't want to go to bed. Give me 5 more minutes. He's saying move the boundary. No. So you can either get yourself to bed, or I can pick you up and take you to bed. See, it requires no effort on their part, because the boundary is it's bedtime, and so you go in your will, or I will take you. And that's going to be very uncomfortable, and it's not what you want. And so, but it's 8 o'clock. That's the time, right? And there's lots of ways that we can set this up beforehand. We want to give kids choices and all these things, but you don't give them the choice about 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is 8 o'clock. And so if you want to start at 7:30 and go, hey, we can either start getting ready for bed now and brush your teeth, or you can watch this show for another few minutes while I go get my PJs on. And when I get back, you can turn off the TV, or I'll turn off the TV, but the TV's going off. Which would you like to do? Do you want to go brush your teeth so we can get started on a story? But you can start lining these things up, because at 8 o'clock, that is non-negotiable. That's the boundary item. So hopefully I've made that clear. Stop moving the boundaries. And then as a husband and wife, determine what those boundaries are. And then you're just the referee. And once they know that that's a structure that's in place, they will conform to it. I had somebody once tell me that their 3-year-old would only drink Coke. And that just blew my mind. I was like, well, how are they getting Coke? It's like you realize, like, a 3-year-old doesn't go to the store and go buy Coke. And yeah, if you made the mistake of giving them Coke one time, which you shouldn't be doing, then of course they want that. Yeah, of course little kids want all of the wrong things. Yeah, and so it's like, no, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. What does that mean? We're going to serve the greatest good. And these are the boundaries. You can actually, well, I don't like water. Well, that's what we have at dinner. We have water. I want juice. No, you can have juice for breakfast, but not for dinner. Well, I'm going to throw a temper tantrum. Fine. If that's what you want to do. I'm not going to eat my dinner. Fine. Look, they will eventually eat. And I'm not being mean. I'm just saying you're just very clear. There is think about you at work. If somebody gives you very unclear instructions, you don't know what to do. You start having anxiety. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Nobody's telling me what I'm supposed to be doing. You want structure. Structure gives us comfort. Structure lets us know I'm in the right place. It lets me know where I am. There's such value to that. So this idea that our kids, we need to cater to them, is not helping them. And if you don't start when they're young, they're going to be really a challenge as they get older. But the good news is you can start at any age. They are counting on you being consistent. We would love for you to be home, and you're always welcome here. But when you come back, know these are the rules. These are the spoken expectations so that we don't have future resentments, right? And so our boundaries are non-negotiable, and they require no effort on your part. And so what that means is if you don't follow the house rules, then we will be locking the door, we will be changing the locks, and you won't be invited back. But they're only 16. Yeah, sorry, those are the rules. And so you can live with your friends or you can do whatever it is that you want. There's no way I could do that. Well, it depends on what the situation is, right? Because they have to learn. They feel like they are adults, but they're not. But you don't know what that's going to, what kind of chaos that's going to create. Look, it's already chaos. You need to give them structure. Tough love is one of those things that I think we've completely lost as a generation. And it is not cruel. It is comforting to know the rules of the game. So it is not whether I win or lose this game. It is the set of games over time that you want your child to, you want them to be that kind of person that people want to play the next game with them, right? That's who we want to hang around. That's who we want to be with. And so learning to lose, super important. Not removing consequences that are natural consequences. The timer ended. The game's over. You lost. So sorry. Yeah. Anyway, hope this helps. I know it's difficult. Obviously, use your own judgment on this stuff. But for me, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. That means the greatest good. And that means there's consequences. And I'm not the consequence. The situation is the consequence. Where you're at now, that's the consequence. I love you. Remember, God is good. Jesus has forgiven you. You are loved, and everything is possible. Take care.